Good night again, everyone. My name is Jade Chatagoon, and I will be presenting an overview of automated scoring of essays. So my interest in this topic actually began when my mom, who is an English literature teacher, started experiencing a lot of headaches and eye aches due to grading large amounts of essays online, since we no longer have school face-to-face. So I began thinking, maybe, is this something I could help her with? Could I possibly develop an automated essay grader? So then I began researching to see if such a thing exists and what the previous approaches were like. So firstly, let's define the automated essay scoring. Well, according to the JTLA, it is defined as the technology that evaluates and scores written prose. We'll observe different approaches as we go along. But automated essay scoring systems, also known as AES systems, were initially developed to save on time, reduce expenses, increase reliability, and alleviate common generalizability issues in writing assessment. So in this presentation, we look at AES systems which date back from 1967 to those that are being used currently. AES systems were built to operate in both low-stakes and high-stakes environments. Low-stake environments would refer to those written in a classroom assessment environment, where high-stakes environments refer to assessments of a larger scale, where the writer's grade is crucial for some advancement, certification, or qualification in some field. So, of course, having essays graded by computers in a high-stakes environment could be quite controversial for some, and there are few issues that arise in both contexts. But nevertheless, it continues to draw the attention of many universities, testing companies, teachers, and other educators alike, and is something that may now receive greater consideration since the pandemic. So I'll be discussing 7 main automated essay scoring systems that have been recognized in the GTLA Journal of Technology Learning and Assessment, copyrighted in 2006. These are the Project Essay Grader, the Intelligent Essay Assessor, E-Rater, Criterion SM, Intellimetric, MyAccess, and Betsy, the Bayesian Essay Test Scoring System. That name I thought was really clever. So before we get into the systems, I'd like to clearly define two terms used throughout the presentation. So the term expert referred to an individual who had a degree in English as well as 5 years of experience in analyzing writings in large-scale writing assessment programs. Traditional human scorer was defined as an individual who usually attended a one-day training session on writing assessment in a large statewide scoring session in writing. So firstly, we have the PEG, and this AES takes us back to 1967, where American educational psychologist Ellis Page of the University of Connecticut was asked to develop the PEG by the College Board. The goal was to create a more practical and effective method than the traditional manual grading of essays. The PEG uses correlation to detect intrinsic quality of essays. Its scores are generated using trends, which refers to those intrinsic elements of an essay, so fluency, diction, grammar, punctuation, for example. And it also uses what Page refers to as proxies, which refer to the correlation or counts of those intrinsic variables. The PEG is firstly trained on approximately 100 to 400 sample essays, and then the proxies or correlation of those variables are determined for all the essays. The resulting variables are then fed into the prediction algorithm, and a score is finally assigned by calculating beta weights based on the training stage. Although PEG scores have been described as comparable to that of human essay graders, it was criticized for its lack of consideration for the semantic component, things like organization and style. Of course, a huge disadvantage to this AES as opposed to traditional raters was that there was no traditional instructional feedback to the writer, like how teachers would just make a few comments here and there and you would be able to see where you could improve. So the system was capable of tracking the writing errors, but early versions of the PEG were easy to trick by writing longer essays. Of course, this led to questionable accuracy. So as Page's health began declining, he sold the intellectual property assets of the PEG to a company called Measurement Incorporated in 2002. Next off, we have the Intelligent Essay Assessor, which can be seen as an improvement to the PEG, well, at least in my opinion. The IEA is an internet-based tool, and it was produced by the Pearson State-of-the-Art Knowledge Analysis Technologies Engine, a mouthful, copyrighted in 2010 by Pearson Education. It has been proven to be as reliable as the professional human raters. According to Pearson's IEA fact sheet, which is available online for downloading in PDF form, the IEA uses a combination of latent semantic analysis, LSA, and methods used in automatic speech recognition, computational linguistics, and other forms of statistical AI to analyze text-based essays. It can be customized to meet any organization's scoring needs for each of the 6 traits of writing, known as ideas, organizations, conventions, sentence fluency, word choice, and voice. The IEA uses 3 sources of text for essay analysis. So pre-scored essays of other students, expert model essays, and knowledge source materials like textbooks, for example, and the internal comparison of a set of unscored set of essays. So it computes a semantic similarity score. So that would be scores that give an idea of how similar they are in meaning and compares the content similarity of each essay to every other essay in the training set. So an essay would be treated like a vector. This is done to determine how closely the essay matches others on the same topic and that have been marked by human raters. So essays which are extremely similar are then examined by the LSA. This allows the IEA to easily detect plagiarism and gives it an upper hand to human raters, where when you're marking a large amount of essays, it's really hard to detect plagiarism. Finally, it predicts an overall score. IEA can mimic a human reader by understanding, or more literally, measuring a piece of written prose once it has been trained on the topic or a set of text representative of that domain. So as you could maybe guess, this AES is focused more towards expository writing. Other than grading essays, IEA can also provide feedback on spelling, grammar, and redundancy. Lastly, the producers of the IEA claim that it needs less than average pre-scored essays for training. So it only requires 100 pre-scored essays. And here we have an example of the feedback you can get from the IEA. Next off, we have the e-rater. The e-rater, which stands for Electronic Essay Rater, was developed by the the Educational Testing Service, and was used for the operational scoring of GMAT writing assessment since February of 1999. Like the IEA, the e-rater is capable of both automatically grading the essay and providing feedback to the user. This AES detects linguistic features known as lexical and syntactical cues in the written text and produces scores for 7 main categories, from which it then derives or predicts the final score. The features must have some logical correspondence to features a human rater is instructed to consider when rating essays, and combined with a statistical model which assigns weights to the features, stores those weights in a database, and it is built to maximize agreement with scores given by human raters. I'll now give a short explanation of the 7 categories for the e-rater. So the grammar score is based on errors such as subject-verb agreement. Mechanics score is derived from errors like spelling. Usage score is based on errors such as article errors and confused words. Style score is based on instances of overly repeated words and the number of very long or very short sentences. Lexical complexity score is drawn from information such as level of vocabulary the writer uses. Organization or development score is based on identification of sentences that correspond to background, thesis, main idea, supporting idea, and conclusion. And prompt-specific vocabulary usage score is derived from the e-rater's evaluation of the word choice in the essay and the similarity of the word choice in samples of low to high quality essays written on the same topic. Now that is important, it's always on the same topic. So the e-rater employs a corpus-based approach for model building and requires unedited text corpora that is like a particular genre of first draft essay student essays. The features of the e-rater include a syntactic module, a discourse module, and a topic analysis module. These modules provide outputs for model building and scoring. The e-rater has been trained on a set of essays scored by at least 2 human raters on a 6-point holistic scale. And by holistic scale, they mean that it is one scale with all the criteria put together so that the evaluation considers them as one. Right? So the ETS has also claimed that they are committed to developing automated scoring systems which follow requirements highlighted in the automated scoring for the assessment of common core standards. And those are that automated scores are consistent with scores from expert human graders. The way automated scores are produced is understandable and substantively meaningful. Automated scores are fair. They have been validated against external measures in the same way as is done with human scoring, and the impact of automated scoring on reported scores is understood. Next off, we have the Criterion. So the Criterion is a web-based essay scoring system which relies on ETS technologies, which is the e-rater, as well as critique writing analysis tools. Critique has the ability to identify errors in grammar, usage, mechanics, as well as others, and recognizes various discourse elements, including those of undesirable essays. So the feedback component is called the advisory component and provides individualized diagnostic feedback. It also supplements the e-rater score. Some examples of this feedback are that the text is too brief to be a complete essay. This suggests that the student should write more. The text does not resemble other essays written on the topic, implies that perhaps the essay is off topic. The essay response is overly repetitive, which suggests that the student should use more synonyms, according to the GTLA. So Criterion covers a number of writing genres and provides writing topics at various academic levels, including elementary school. It is capable of analyzing essays on topics it was trained on, including those in the Criterion library. Note that teachers also have the freedom to create their own topics, but these essays can't be scored, right? So a minimum of 465 essays scored by expert raters are required to train a system per topic. There's also an electronic portfolio, and it allows students to store their first and subsequent drafts online, and a writer's handbook, which allows students to explore feedback definitions, usage examples, and other error explanations. Another great advantage of this is that it offers such a great deal of customization by teachers. So some examples of this is that they can manage student access to the program, set their start and finish dates, and control several features that other students can access at any time, as well as being able to insert their own feedback, which is very important as well. Next, we have Intellimetric, which was developed by Vantage Learning, is known as the first AES to be based on AI. It was used by the College Board for placement purposes and by ACT Inc. for scoring GMAT essays as of January 2006. It uses a combination of AI, natural language processing, known as NLP, and statistical technologies. Intellimetric relies on Vantage Learning's Cognisearch and quantum reasoning technologies. Cognisearch was developed specifically for use with Intellimetric to understand natural language. And together, these technologies allow Intellimetric to internalize each score point and associate it with certain characteristics in an essay. It then uses this association between essay features and score points to score subsequent essays. This approach is also claimed to be consistent with the procedure underlying holistic scoring, which we spoke about earlier. It is also claimed that the scoring system learns characteristics that the human raters are likely to value and those they find poor. Intellimetric must be trained with a set of pre-scored essays with known scores assigned by human raters. The system first creates an association between features and marks, and then the scoring model is validated against a smaller set of essays with known scores. So once it reaches some satisfactory performance level, it is applied to new essays with unknown scores. Intellimetric evaluates over 300 text-related features, and these can be categorized into 5 broad sections called latent semantic dimensions. They are coherence, organization, development and elaboration, sentence structure, and mechanics and conventions. Next, we have My Access, which is also a web-based writing assessment tool, similar to the Criterion and based on Vantage Learning's Intellimetric. The main purpose of the program is to offer students a writing environment that provides immediate scoring and diagnostic feedback. Currently, the system assigns essay topics and provides feedback in English, Spanish, or Chinese. Automated diagnostic feedback ensures consistency and accuracy. My Access contains over 200 operational and pilot prompts that generate instant analysis of the essay. These prompts are based on reading text as well as literature at various academic levels. My Access also offers a variety of writing tools, such as Writing Dashboard. Writing Dashboard is a feature which gives students the opportunity to see their weekly progress, and the My Portfolio feature allows students to view a list of completed assignments, scores, reports, and so on. Various teacher options allows for teachers to have full control of the application, and for instance, teachers are able to create groups. They can customize the level as well as the type of feedback according to the proficiency level of the students. And of course, like the Criterion, they can add their own comments on student essays as well, along with the feedback provided by the system. And what sets this one apart is that My Access includes parent letters in the 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese, to give parents an opportunity to get involved in the learning process. Finally, we have Betsy, Bayesian essay test scoring system, and Betsy was developed by Lawrence M. Rudner. Betsy is not commercialized as the others are, and it can be viewed as more of a research tool. Bayesian methods have several applications, such as identifying spam and other unwanted emails based on similarity with previously classified emails. There are 2 Bayesian models widely used in text classification: the multivariate Bernoulli model, which views each essay as a special case of calibrated features, and the multinomial model, which views each essay as a sample of calibrated features. The Bernoulli model investigates whether a specific feature exists in the essay or not, whereas the multinomial model checks the multiple use of a specific feature in an essay. Betsy needs to be trained on 1,000 texts to learn how to classify new documents. Right, and we have the following steps below that Betsy follows. Then after training, Betsy can be applied to a set of trial texts to determine classification accuracy. Scoring is the major component of Betsy, and several scoring and calculation options allow for users to identify what text to score and how to score it. It's actually available online. It is claimed that Betsy includes best features of the PEG, IEA, and E-Reader, along with its own essential characteristics. So that's it for Betsy. And I'll move on to objections and issues. One of the strongest objections to computerized scoring is that computers are not capable of assessing an essay the way a human would, because they only do what, and quote unquote, they are programmed to do, and they don't quote unquote appreciate an essay. So, an important issue with machine scoring also is that if the computer can be fooled by writers or not. AES developers have attempted to create algorithms which defend against such writers who try to cheat the computer. For instance, the PEG uses an algorithm to alert odd elements in an essay. When the computer flags an essay, it's then set aside for human evaluation. Similarly, Criterion and my-access programs flag anomalous essays for human scoring. A study was founded by the GRE, the Graduate Record Examinations Board, to assess the accuracy of the e-rater. The results of the study revealed that the e-rater might reward a poor essay. So, since the findings suggested that the e-rater wasn't ready for use by itself, it was paired with human raters for high-stakes assessment purposes. Also, these systems score essays with can only score essays with prompts which are pre-scored, which exist in their own libraries, as we saw with Criterion, for example. This creates a disadvantage to teachers who have created prompts that do not exist in those libraries, since it would require a human rater. So the teachers would have to go ahead and rate those essays themselves. On the other hand, the AES systems are only as good as what they learn from the calibration sample. That is, the calibration samples can be optimized by exposing the system to a very large number of training essays. So we can see that although Betsy outclasses the PEG, IEA, and e-rater, we also note that it requires the most number of essays for training. That is 1,000 essays, right? So to conclude, the AES systems described in this paper are claimed to be accurate and valid. As we've seen, there have been quite a few AES systems developed over the past 3 decades and more, and a variety of methods used as well. The e-rater and Intellimetric used NLP techniques. The IEA was based on LSA. PEG used proxies and trends and statistical methods, and Betsy used Bayesian methods. The creators of e-rater and Intellimetric also went a step further to create instructional applications, that is the Criterion and my-access. Instructional-based AES systems were designed to provide effective methods for efficiently scoring large amounts while providing individual feedback. It is important to note that they were meant to supplement teachers, not in an attempt to replace them. This is exemplified with high levels of customization available and for teachers to also insert their own feedback. Marking essays can be quite time consuming for a teacher with very large classes, right? And the use of AES in the classroom may even allow for more writing assessments to be conducted. The majority of AES systems focus on essay writing as a product rather than a process, which is not optimal. Instructional-based AES systems, however, support the formative assessment by allowing the student to submit multiple drafts and make improvements based on feedback and scoring. These AES systems are not free to use, but since the interest and need for it is steadily increasing, we can hope to see them being used as a public utility rather than a proprietary vendor-created and owned system. So people will have the opportunity to use them and maybe encourage acceptance of its usage. So I'd like everyone to think about, how you all feel about the use of AES systems, maybe if it was used in Trinidad, and would you mind or trust being graded by one of these systems described? And maybe which one, make a choice. That's it for my presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jade. Very interesting stuff. So I'm sure you mentioned this to your mom, and would she ever use something like this, or she would still want to depend on her expertise?
Well, I think based on the frequency of the headaches and the eye aches she's been experiencing, that she would be very, very happy for something like this. But I mean, a lot of people in these fields tend to have their own very strong opinion, especially when technology comes around and tries to take their place. Because a lot of people, they feel offended, or maybe they become hesitant when these types of technology become involved. But personally, I think for my mom, she would really enjoy having it, and maybe she would compare an essay that the technology, the AIS technology has graded versus his, and maybe make a decision from there. But I mean, in her case, it would be more low stakes environment, just simple classroom marking and so on. But it's definitely something to think about in the case of like CXC and CAPE, etc. I think she'd be really happy though.
Okay, well, so yeah, that was my next question. So do you plan to, because I'm sure she has lots of labeled essays already, right? Stuff she already graded. So you could
Mm-hmm.
just pass that through Betsy or one of these and see correlation between what grade she obtained and what they would obtain, right? Do you have any
Mm-hmm.
plans to do that, or?
I could check it out. I saw that Betsy, when I went on the site, Betsy isn't specifically for essays, it's actually for any piece of text. So it could be maybe a sentence or a paragraph or a few texts or even an essay. Um, but it does require 1,000 texts for training and so on. So I can't check it out, but I was very interested in it. So I need to, when I get some time, take a dive into that again.
Yeah. And the other thing is, as you mentioned, is yeah, I mean, this is looking mostly at structure and grammar and those aspects. Of course, a
Mm,
lot more detail, but in terms of creativity and of the content, etc., I guess it's not really looking at that, right? Which is important as well.
yeah. So with hmm, with Intellimetric, I think it is. It it actually looked at quite a few different genres of writing, but for sure some of them are just based on expository um, writing for sure, because they would train a lot on like domain representative text, like textbooks and papers and so on.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, something like this is would definitely be valuable in reviewing technical publications. Because
Yeah, for sure.
when you submit a paper, you get a wide range of reviews, and a lot of good papers get rejected because of the reviewers, and sometimes garbage gets accepted. So it would be
Right.
nice to have a more standardized approach to reviewing papers, even if it's just to validate the results. So if this tool said, the paper should have been accepted and was rejected, then you could actually go back and have a look. But
Yeah,
that would be interesting. But
for
but
sure.
thanks, interesting stuff.
Thank you. I think that was the aim as well, to ensure some type of consistent approach to marking. Since having a large variety of raters, could tend to be a bit biased at times. And some people aren't always very happy with the marks that they receive, and maybe consider, what if this was marked by somebody else? Or you give the essay to your aunt who's also a teacher, and she says, this essay is actually really good. It deserves a better mark. So it's really is a very touchy topic.
That's actually a
Hi.
cool presentation. Oh, sorry.
Hi,
Oh,
Nydia.
no, you
Thank
go ahead.
you.
Yeah, you,
Yeah, Jay, it is actually because like when you know started your presentation, I was all smiling to myself because like late this evening, my mom, she's retired like recently, but she was
Mhm.
also a teacher, and she was just talking to me about essay marking, and totally unrelated to you because this was before I didn't even see a title of your thing. She was explaining to
Yeah.
me the issues with marking and the consistency actually we spoke about because she was drawing some references to me, some problems they have where you would have inconsistent marking, and a parent would usually have a problem with it and thinking you're marking my kid too difficult because their lessons teacher says they should be different or whatever. And then when they actually the examining board corrects it, they realize it's actually consistent with how they were being marked. So it's not a matter of the teacher didn't like the kid. So that whole consistency thing is actually really cool. So I'll give her the idea of the gist of what you spoke about to get her feedback on it.
Yes, thank you. And please do let me know what she says and what her response is to that.
Yeah, it's nice to know how people would perceive it and if they would trust it as well too.
Yeah.
I like it.
Hi, very nice presentation, Jade. I had to step away for a few minutes, but did you by chance talk about anything in the space of interpretability with this? Because I think that in conjunction with just kind of trampolining off what Nydia just said there in terms of the consistency, I think that would be something also really interesting to look at. Probably probably like adapting something like Sharp's like Sharp to this might be interesting, because I believe there is a variant of Sharp that's supposed to work with NLP based tasks. So I think that might be something interesting as well to look into, because aside from it being consistent, you also have the benefit of, once you have interpretability there, that you can kind of essentially justify and make the decisions of the grading system transparent in a way that might be difficult to automate otherwise.
Yeah.
Difficult to get otherwise, sorry.
Yeah, it definitely would. I think sorry.
I got a question. Very interesting presentation. I was just wondering, what is how big an essay could be? One particular, whether it's in the training set or in the examination. Do you have an idea of that?
No, actually, they didn't say.
Yeah, I was interested in what happens if you throw a script for a movie at it or something.
Well, I guess maybe it depends on what it was trained on. I know some of them train on textbooks, for example. That was one of the modules, the e-rater. So, I guess all that matters is that what you train on just have, I guess, a similar or comparable type of information. So maybe the length, should be consistent. No problem. So I see Tarek was asking in the chat, these 1,000 texts for Betsy, 1,000 texts per topic. I believe Betsy doesn't really train per topic as the others, since it wasn't created specifically for essays, but more or less for, any kind of textual information. So I would say, and this is just me, can't confirm this for sure, but I would say no, not per topic for Betsy in particular.
Jada, I saw you mention ETS. Is that the same ETS that manages the SAT and things like that in the US? And do they actually use it for those exams as well?
Actually, I am not sure, but I would have to check that out, because I saw there were two different ETSs and the logos were slightly different, and I was wondering what was up with that.
Okay, was just curious. Yeah.
I know for sure, the one that I know, the ETS deals with the GREs, at least on there. When you do your essays and stuff, that's how they go about grading it. But the annoying thing about those things is like if you want to do practice tests and stuff, normally you have to pay to get your essays and stuff graded.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, well, the GREs are a racket, so.
I won't disagree. I won't disagree with that.
Yeah, hopefully less schools start requiring GREs because
I know there's actually a movement. I know as of last year in particular, there were a lot of schools who were dropping the GRE requirements. A lot of them said that from September of this year, from the admissions period for 2022, they're dropping GRE requirements. I think there's actually a whole site right now that's a spreadsheet online, sorry, that actually catalogs the schools as they drop the GRE requirement. Because there are a lot of people who would only apply to schools that don't require GRE. I'm happy to see the revolt.
yeah, I always had problems with these essay type exams. In my day, there was something called GP general paper, and I think I ended up getting like a B or B plus on it because I wasn't good at writing stuff.
Yeah, I think definitely like there are speakers and there are writers, and I think I fall better into the writing category than speaking category. I'm seeing here that I think SAT is run by the College Board and ETS sponsors. The College Board sponsors SAT and the ETS conducts a lot of research associated with it. I can't
Okay.
get a direct answer.